No, we'll wait a minute. That's fine. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 4th regular meeting of the Rockville Center Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are 2 exits at the back of the room in case of emergency. Any correspondence, there actually has been no correspondence. We've received no correspondence since our last meeting. And I don't see any students here this evening. So we are going to go a little bit out of order this evening. And I'm going to refer to item for action letter A to begin our meeting for a special announcement. Mr. Gavin, when we hired you as our superintendent of schools, we told the community that you were a leader with presence, a reflective leader, someone who listens, collaborates, and puts kids first always. We asked you to make yourself visible at our many events and activities around the district so that you could get to know our students and community members. Over the last year and a half, you have consistently done so, and you have done so in a way that is genuine and engaging. You have provided a sense of calm and a steady hand as you have proven to be fully committed to the well-being of our students. You have infused your energy and innovative spirit and have already enhanced the educational experience of our students. The Board of Education is truly grateful for this. We are confident that you will continue to lead us with the same unwavering commitment that you have demonstrated so far. As a reflection of our confidence in you, we have decided to extend your contract for 3 years. As always, the Board of Education is deeply grateful for the support of our community, and we look forward to our continued collaboration with Mr. Gavin in shaping the future of our wonderful district. We are truly excited about the impact we know your work will continue to have on our students. Mr. Gavin, thank you. May I please have a motion to approve item for action letter A?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Gavin. Superintendent's report.
Thank you for going out of order. So, first and foremost, I'm truly grateful to the Board of Education and the community of Rockville Center for the opportunity to be a part of this school district. The last 18 months have been wonderfully rewarding for me as a professional, and from the students to the faculty to the administrative team, we are super excited for what the future holds. So, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. In terms of the rest of my student superintendent's report, since we're out of order, now I have to change paragraphs. As our Board of Education knows, we've been focusing on improving some communications. I wanted to take this opportunity to provide the community and the board on some of the new steps that we are taking this year. One of the things that we have been looking to do is involve our high school parents more in the process of course selection with their children. This year, the 10th grade parents and students will have the opportunity to meet with their guidance counselors individually to discuss course selection process in anticipation of junior year. We know that junior year course selection is very important, and we want the parents involved in that conversation as our students try to choose opportunities that are going to set themselves up well for opportunities post-secondary. The high school sent an email earlier today with the information about scheduling your appointment. To clarify for anyone out there, if they gave a range of dates, but if that's something that doesn't fit your child's schedule or your schedule or work schedule, please feel free to contact the guidance office. They will be happy to arrange a time outside of the range of dates that they provided in the letter. So I wanted to just make sure that our board knew that our 10th grade parents are having their parent meetings. As the board also knows, we've been engaged in listening to our students through a series of focus groups. Part of the feedback that came out of our conversations with students was we wanted to make sure that our middle school students understood some of the programs and opportunities they would have at the high school. This came from our 9th grade students that said, oh, I wish I had known that a little bit earlier. But it also came from our 8th grade students that said, I don't know this about what's coming. So we have devised between The high school and the middle school administration have been great, working with Kelly Ramsey and guidance to set up a series of different opportunities for our students to get a chance to, number one, meet their own guidance counselor. So if your guidance counselor happens to be Mr. Bartels, all of the students that are in Mr. Bartels' guidance, under his purview, he will get a chance to meet. So we're trying to make sure that that's targeted. That's the first thing. That's coming up. That comes up in February. The second thing that we're offering to our students is they've already had a chance to meet with Mr. English in the DECA program to tell the kids about what business opportunities are at the high school. We also had our theater program. Ms. Siderman went down with the kids and showed them a snippet of the play from some of our thespians. And so that our students that are in the middle school plays and our musicals get a chance to see what that program looks like when they continue. I think all of our ensemble groups are finished now. So we had our band teachers, orchestra teachers, chorus teachers, all have a chance to go down and tell the kids, this is what you can do here at the high school in the arts. So those are all pieces that we are working on, and we're really excited about that. It's been really well received. I know that we also make sure that our coaches have been strategic about that too, going down to middle school games and watching the games, or at least being a presence on the sideline. I know that our football coach even has gone so far as to have a signing day, where the kids actually get to put on the Southside jersey and sign. That's why we have 100 kids in football, by the way. That has worked as well, and we have another of opportunities as well. The other thing we're looking at now that we've kind of set that up right before courses and course offerings, we're starting to look at our orientation going from 5 to 6. What are the things that we can do better there to make sure that our sixth graders, they came in and told us everything they needed to tell you. They were awesome. So there are a number of things that we're going to be able to put in place as a result of this communication. Again, it stems from listening, and it stems from listening particularly to kids. So I'm really happy with the feedback we've gotten and the steps we've taken as a result of that feedback. I would like to turn it over. As the board knows, our curriculum department is hard at work this year. Oh, my bad.
Okay.
My bad,
Is
sorry.
that your report?
That's my report,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. We have an acceptance of a gift this evening,
My
Mr.
bad.
Gavin.
We have received a gift of an AED for the high school as a result of the Heart and Soul Foundation, so we would like to recommend that we accept this gift of an AED. We know how important it is to have usable and viable machines around for our student athletes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the gift?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much to Ms. Burbidge and the Heart and Soul Foundation. Mr. Gavin, items for information?
Sure. As the board knows, our curriculum department has been hard at work, as a repeat, examining both our math curriculum, which is our spotlight year for math this year, but we are also continuing our work on ELA, which we looked at last year. The board has asked, and I've asked Dr. Moriarty to provide the board with just a brief update on some of the steps that we have taken since it's not a formal spotlight year. What are some of the things that our ELA committee has to continue to work on during the course of this school year? So I will turn it over to Dr. Moriarty.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to offer our community an update on the work of the ELA committee. We're excited to share, and I say we because I am merely a representative of everybody else on the committee, to share some updates focusing on 3 key goals: cohesion, alignment, and growth. First, I really need to recognize our committee members. They deserve my sincerest thanks for their excitement, their creativity, and their professionalism. They're really, truly highly engaged and enthusiastic about creating and implementing all the new methods, materials, and curriculum that we are working on. Their positivity makes our work sessions very productive and very enjoyable. They are so enthusiastic that it is contagious, and our students are inspired by this work as well. The students are excited about the work, and they're very enthusiastic about sharing their work with the larger community. Parents have come in to see some work. Students go home and share their work with the parents, and we do receive positive feedback from both our students and our parents. So I just wanted to remind everybody that our work with the ELA curriculum is based on educational research as well as brain research. Through our professional learning and our extensive professional learning, which I know that is very important to the board and to the teachers, we've made sure that our teachers and our administrators have plenty of opportunities to learn and grow together. So let's dive into the work that we've achieved so far and our plans for the future. So I'm going to highlight a lot of work right now in the elementary level, as we are doing a significant portion in the elementary level with the phasing of the implementation as we go up into the secondary level. So you will hear about the secondary as well, and you will hear highlights of what we're doing across the board K-12. Okay, so for example, we created a K-5 parent family handbook, which we had previously presented, outlining our yearly learning objectives for all of our students K through 5. We are now using consistent assessment tools in all of our elementary schools to better understand and communicate our students' abilities and ensure uniform MTSS approaches. And that's a variety of assessments, some of which are just observational, some of which might be written, presentations, project-based. So it's a nice smattering of all the different types of ways in which that we can observe and understand what our children are able to do. We have also integrated our academic intervention services, which we have also previously presented about, into our classrooms, allowing our students to receive that extra help and support during the class periods without disturbing their daily flow or their regular schedule. And then additional support is provided for students in the WIN period. And an update about the WIN period is that we are getting really good at doing some interesting things during that what I need period. So students are starting to explore their passions, and we're going to scale that across all of the schools in all of their WIN periods. So those aforementioned strategies are accomplishments of the elementary schools, and at this time, we are going to start implementing and phasing up to the upper grades. So let's talk about what we've been doing in the upper grades. We have identified common novels, books, book clubs, and content in each of the grade levels so we can provide a very cohesive experience. Our administrators emphasize the same language, K through 12, around our instruction and our pedagogy, allowing them to have a common focus and lens in order for us to provide teachers with strategic feedback on what we're doing and how we can get better. That has also been facilitated by Mr. Murphy, who has helped us with our observations and our evaluations. And I don't want to forget Dr. Diaz either. She is a coordinator of teaching and learning. She's helped organizing all of this work across the district, K-12. And then remember, we have Mrs. Broderick as well, who lends a helping hand and support by doing a lot of professional development and supporting our teachers with coaching. And outlines of the professional development, our teachers are organizing their own professional development and coming together in collegial circles to explore the methodologies aligned with the work that we're doing, very specifically in the science of reading. So how are we enhancing literacy skills? A lot of this you might remember from previous presentations, and it's important to note that we're continuing this work. So we're using the keys to literacy approach, which includes techniques like the top-down topic web and note-taking. So we are teaching students the metacognition, or the thinking about thinking, as they're reading and as they're writing. And we've already provided those detailed presentations, so anybody can go back and they can see them. And of course, my phone is always open, and anybody can call me, and I can surely talk to anybody. Our teachers are continuing to take ownership within their grades, buildings, and for their own learning. They're attending training sessions on their own fruition. They're collaborating across the district, holding meetings by themselves at 8:20 in the morning, especially in the elementary level, where they're collaborating across the 5 buildings to make sure that we're via Zoom, so that we are having consistent, aligned practices, and they're leading this, and it's amazing to watch the excitement with this. We have shared Google Docs, Google Drives now. So as I create something, let's say, as a 5th grade teacher, anybody who's a 5th grade teacher also has access to that. So now let's turn our attention specifically to the grade bandwidths, because there's really cool stuff happening and very important things happening in those grades as well. So we're going to begin with the lower grades and then move up to the upper grades. So grades kindergarten through 2nd grade. We are enhancing our early literacy program with tools like Heggerty and Foundations. Those are programs for phonemic awareness and phonics. Our teachers are seeing positive outcomes as they transition their students from foundations lessons into decodable books, which is new for this year. So after they practice a specific phonics instruction, then they move into decodable books, which allows them to be able to practice their fluency, practice that, like put into application what they just learned, so they're practicing their fluency, and then they're practicing their comprehension as well. So that is new for this year, and we're finding success with that, and we can't wait to see what happens by the end of the year. Social studies and science is also part of our K-5 curriculum to continue supporting our learners in their literacy journey. So our students, as you saw last year, we saw mystery science. Our students are absolutely loving mystery science. They're having so much fun. I've been trying to tweet it out and put it on Instagram as much as possible so everybody can see the smiles, the laughs, how much they're investigating, and the integration of those literacy practices into our content areas. So we're making learning about the world fun and engaging while we're building upon their vocabulary and their comprehension. Now, grades 3 to 5. All 3 grades are busy creating multidisciplinary units of study. So I would like to remind everybody that we really only started with 5th grade last year as creating it. As we presented to all the other grade levels, 3rd and 4th grade, what we were doing, they could not wait to get started. So we immediately started with those grades. We have subcommittees for each of the grades that come together and they meet, and they've been meeting since the summer, and they've been crafting and drafting those multidisciplinary units of study. We have also implemented inquiry notebooks for those interdisciplinary units of study where parents should be able to see the top-down topic webs, the 2-column notes. It's very interesting to see a 2nd grader complete notes and then be able to really explain to you what the main idea is and what the details are, and then take that and transition into their writing. And we're also enhancing our word study program, so it's closely tied to what the students are learning in social studies, science, and the books that we're reading. And that's very much aligned to our spelling principles as outlined by the science of reading, and therefore the research, because we know the science of reading is just really a body of research that says what best evidence-based practices are. So now moving into the secondary level. Grades 5, 6, and 11, our teachers are learning about creating reading and writing progressions. So this is a little bit newer for this year. So I just want to take a moment to explain. Progressions are a series of steps needed for students to learn a skill. This makes feedback that we can give students very concrete and visible so that they can set goals. They understand what the next level of their learning or their journey is, and the teachers can give very specific and actionable feedback. So in this area, we started with 1 progression, and in I think maybe November, and we have now created more progressions, and it's just catching on like wildfire because the students can see what the next level is, and they want to get to that next level. And the teachers then have strategic strategies in order to be able to teach them and questions to ask them in order to be able to help move them and propel them forward. Our reading teachers are also getting trained in the secondary level for the Keys to Literacy comprehension routine. So now you're starting to see that consistent practice go up from the elementary up to the secondary, with the goal of getting all of our teachers trained on the Keys to Literacy. It's a long-term goal. English and social studies teachers are learning new ways to increase student engagement and learning specifically brain-based approaches to teaching and learning, which are very much aligned to our approaches to teaching and our approaches to learning. So real practical, everyday pedagogy to increase that engagement. So all child, every single day has an opportunity to participate in meaningful work. Okay, and then a very important thing that came out of our recommendations from last year was articulation. How are we articulating from the elementary levels to the middle school, and how are we articulating from the middle school up into the high school? So we are having articulation meetings, and as we do our training around progressions as an example, both 5th and 6th grade teachers are doing that. So there's a nice progression right there, nice articulation, and that is only the beginning of what we will be able to accomplish. So what are our next steps? One, we will not stop. This will continue. Everybody's so excited, and we want to continue doing our work. So we're going to offer Keys to Literacy comprehension training to all teachers. Right now, some teachers are taking it voluntarily, right? Because they're able to take it voluntarily, there's this, again, to use this word ad nauseum, excitement about it. They're learning a lot. That's really reinforcing the work that we're doing, and they're seeing the connections to the science and the evidence. So by them taking this initiative, other people now are seeing the benefit of this, and they also, too, want to take this. So we're going to expand that offering to more teachers. We would like to begin, the K-2 teachers feel very left out, that they have not participated in the multidisciplinary units of study, and so they would like to start that, too. We just wanted to make sure that phonics, phonemic awareness, and interdecodables was set first before we moved into interdisciplinary. And then the teachers would like to continue their work with progressions and scale for next year and get training in grades 4 and 7, right? So we start at 5, 6, then we go 4, 7, and then we continue our work. We also want to dive into the writing process and grammar. Right now, we're investigating and researching, and some of us are kind of experimenting with different approaches to grammar. So then we're going to come back to the table as a large committee, and we're going to share our experiences, and then we're going to start seeing what are we going to do about it. The one thing we want to make sure is that we want our grammar to be aligned with the work that we're doing. We don't want it to be like this add-on. We want it to be aligned, we want it to be seamless, so we want to be very thoughtful about what we're doing and how we're doing it. Finally, we want to continue our work across the board with brain-based approaches to teaching and learning. It is imperative that all of our students get to participate every single day in every single lesson, in every single period, right? So those brain-based approaches to teaching and learning are very important for that. So in summary, we are doing a lot of work. We are making substantive progress in English language arts. We are learning from our experiences. Our teachers are taking on this leadership role where they're helping to drive the work. I'm a mere facilitator in this work. The administrators are all on board. I would be remiss if I did not mention how wonderful that they have been, and as thought leaders with me, that has been amazing. And we are embracing the growth process. Sometimes growth is uncomfortable, and that's okay, because that's when we're growing. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it. I'm very proud of the work that we've begun and we continue to do.
Thank you, Dr. M.
Thank you, Dr. Moriarty. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy that we, as part of our goals, have continued to cycle, so that it's not something that is a one-year process, but that we'll keep going. I know we'll do that with math next year. We'll go to phase 2, and we'll kind of keep going through. One thing is, it's more of a question, as part of like reviewing practices and professional development and all the things that you're looking at, are student outcomes factoring into the conversations as well? So we're seeing presentations from K-5 principals about the data that's coming out of those buildings. Then we're looking at middle school data, then we're looking at high school. But this seems an opportunity to really break down subject data, and I'm just wondering how much it factors into the committee work. In terms of what we hope to see is that us evaluating our practices and feeling good about them is kind of equally matched to our student outcomes in that specific subject area, and would want that going forward for every subject that we're looking at, not just ELA, but because we're talking about ELA. I know we have limited New York State data because not everybody takes it, and it's not for all grades, but we have NWEA data for everybody, Regents data, SAT data, so I'm just curious how much it's factoring into conversation.
When this is multi-layered. So I'm just going to focus on what we're doing as we're planning, and we meet as a subcommittee, if that would be okay. So when we meet as a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade subcommittee or an 11R subcommittee, we are disaggregating that data. We've looked at, thanks to the principals and the work with Dr. Diaz, they have looked at our trends over time, very much the conversation that we had when they presented the data and the the requests that you guys asked us to think about and your wonderings. We went back, we looked at all of the trends, we looked at what questions we're not doing well on, we looked at possible reasons as to why, and as we're building our assessments, as we're looking at the skills that we're putting in and the standards that we're putting into specific units of study, we're looking at that and saying, okay, where do we need to get better, and how are we going to do that? So yes, the short answer is yes, and it predominantly comes from our planning meetings, but I don't want to overshadow the fact that when the teachers are working in their grade level teams or they have their early morning meetings, they're working with each other and they're working with their principals to further disaggregate that data and talk about what my personal data, as Nicole Masseri, teacher of room 2, what my data said last year and the year before and the year before, and what I'm going to do about it myself. So that's been a part of the goals meetings with all of the teachers and the principals as well. So it's multifaceted.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear about the consistency among the various elementary schools having common and consistent literacy assessments, using that common language so that it doesn't necessarily feel like a new skill, it feels somewhat familiar as the students are progressing through the different grades. Having social studies and science involved in literacy, so important, right? Sneaky ways to get in English instruction, getting information from a text. I wonder, in the Keys to Literacy training that you mentioned, in terms of that being available to all teachers, does that include both sort of reading instruction and writing? Because they're both parts of literacy, but they're not the same. So I feel like it's hard to give good writing feedback, right? So
Right.
at different levels. Is that included, or is that something we can look at?
Right, so the K-2 teachers, what we would want them to be looking at and getting trained in would be the keys to beginning reading, which would include some of the practices that we're talking about in the keys to literacy comprehension routine. In that keys to literacy comprehension routine and in the beginning, there is a component for writing. We are coming to the conclusion right now as a committee and subcommittees that we need to look at writing even more in-depthly and see if that is enough, or do we need something else, right? So there's other books, there's other programs, Writing Revolution is one of them. So that's part of our research and investigation. So as we're writing our units or tweaking our units or whatever we are at, in whatever grade level, we are also looking at that writing and then saying, okay, this is our research year for writing. Next year will be our real in-depth, what are we doing about it, and then have recommendations.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that.
With grammar, right? Because we don't want that to be separate and apart again, and not a silo. We don't want anything to be in silos. We want it all to flow and make sense. So even our word study should not be in a silo. It should be, the words should be coming from the content that we're learning, both like novel study, as well as science and social studies.
Makes sense, in context.
In
keeping
context.
In context and keeping teachers feeling prepared to handle a wide variety of responsibilities,
Right.
right? That may be, as you're saying, in addition to or new. So I'm happy to hear that there are places for them to find support and professional instruction and collegial circles. I think that's
It's just so amazing. Today we had a professional learning opportunity for the secondary teachers after school, and it was all about vocabulary. And it came from Keys to Literacy vocabulary routine. All, science-backed, research-based. So, we're trying to be as consistent as we possibly can so that our students have that experience going from K all the way up to 12 where it's developmentally appropriate, right? So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. Again, thank you to all the teachers. If you'd extend our thanks for all the time they're putting in. So I'm interested in, I agree that I think teaching writing is a difficult thing. And I think often students don't realize that it's like a progression, that you learn what you're taught to do in 5th grade as a way of like organizing your ideas and getting them on paper has to evolve, right? And so you become a more sophisticated thinker and a more sophisticated writer, and those tools that you're given, or those, like, for lack of a better word, rules that you're given, need to also evolve. So I'm interested, can you give just a little bit more detail about the grade 5, 6, 11 reading, writing progressions? Like what exactly that
Looks like.
is, yeah.
I wish I had a visual so we could really look at it. It's not a rubric.
Okay,
Okay, it is a progression. So if we're thinking about the idea of theme, if you will, because that's the first one that we really created in 5th grade, what do students, learners, readers need to do in the very beginning in order to start to understand the concept of theme and how authors start to bring about the concept of theme? So the first stage would be identifying the problems and the conflicts that are existing in the book. So starting with that right away. So that's first. So I can identify the conflicts. I can explain, what the conflicts kind of mean, to me, like why this conflict would be important to me as a person. Then the second stage would be turning that conflict into almost like an enduring statement or an enduring what is this problem, like picking one, and what does this problem actually really mean to larger community,
yep.
larger people? Like, how is this
Okay.
something that we struggle with as humans, just say, right? So it could just even be something as simple as, for the younger grades, there's a conflict about the families having conflict. The second part might be, family is hard. Family is difficult, family is challenging, families are complicated, right? It could be anything like that. Then it's making it even more elaborate and moving into, well, what does that actually really mean? And what does that look like and sound like and feel like? And the entire time the students are reading, they're tracking this theme and finding evidence within the text. And then finally moving up to a level 4 and making that into a thesis statement.
Right. And the older they get and the more
So
sophisticated they are, the more nuanced that can
Right.
become,
So
right?
the progression can be actually almost the same, but it becomes more nuanced as we get. And the questions that I would ask, or the questions that I would want the students to think about to move themselves, right? Because now I want them thinking about their thinking. How am I going to teach you to go from a 1 to a 2 without me always sitting next to you?
Okay, so,
Right? So we're training the brain, right,
Yeah,
to think
that's-
in that elaborate.
I think I was there at the first time they were showing the progressions in professional development. And you could tell when the teachers are interested because they start to lean in. And you could see that the idea of unpacking a specific skill in like almost a ladder to get to was really like clicking for them. And so with that, not only are we giving students a clear path, but we're giving teachers a clear path. So, that's a real big piece. So the more they think about the skills and have the opportunity to break them down, the more likely it is they're going to be able to teach the way to move up the ladder of the progression. So I was thrilled with the work. First of all, it's not an easy thing to conceptualize right away, especially with some of the more esoteric skills or the skills that you might say, how do you break that down? But I was really impressed with the teachers in the room and the energy that they put towards this task. And you could feel it in the room that they were like, oh, I kind of want to look at this thing that I'm teaching right now. That was kind of one of the bits of feedback for them.
Right, it was immediate, and I want to follow up with that, because, Mr. Gavin, you make a really great point. So this professional development, we did have somebody come and help us, right?
It's Kate Roberts.
Kate Roberts, and a teacher said, I'm going to make this progression, sent it to our office. We brainstormed with them a little bit more. She then went and she was working with the kids with it. And Kate came and she modeled for us. And in that modeling, we had teachers from around the district come to watch Kate. And then we had a debrief session with Kate, and then everybody went and they did it in their,
Tried it on their own.
they tried it on their own to whatever level they're ready and comfortable at this moment in time. Because right now it's about nurturing this process and making everybody feel comfortable so that they want to engage in this. It's visible learning. It's making the thinking behind what a reader does very visible and explicit. So anybody can do it, and then I know exactly where I need to go as a learner. And since that time, the 3rd grade teachers who were not necessarily a part of this, because it's 5th and 6th grade, when they were planning their 3rd grade unit, they recognized that we needed to do some work around writing, and they built a progression. What does it look like for a level 1, a level, not a rubric, but what does it look like when you initially write? What does it look like for the next step? What does it look like for the next step? And they're going to be utilizing that for their third unit of study.
That's great. So that's exactly what my comment was going to be is, so you said for next year, you're targeting, right now you're doing 5th, 6th, and 11th, and next year you're targeting 4th and 7th as well, right?
I would like to, that's the plan as of right now, if all holds true and everybody is feeling good, that's what I would like to do. We would like to do, it's not me, it's us.
Is there any way to add? I think there's a gap between, particularly for 8th, 9th, 10th grade students, that is a moment in time where they really need to evolve in their ability to think and write as intellectuals, right?
Right.
And then for kids that are going into the IB, but not even just for those
It's for
kids,
everybody.
It's
You're
for
right.
everybody. But like in particular, I think it might be helpful if we can build in some of those habits of mind, or however you want to refer to it, in those grades especially, because I feel like right now, I don't know that it's getting the same attention that it would help them, because, you know, they have to write on the social studies regions, they have to write on the English regions, there's a lot of writing in their future, you know?
Absolutely, and
So-
those are
You want to
discussions.
tell them about ninth grade? social
Right,
studies?
so those are discussions, and it's always on my mind, right? It's always on our minds, and we're always thinking and talking about all of this. Like, and when I say we, I mean we. So, yesterday, I think it was, Rachel Green, myself, the facilitator of the social studies department, and the ninth grade team came together, and we started talking about things very globally first, and then as we continue to plan, and we're going to have planning time and meetings, and as we continue to plan and work together, and it's going to be a collective effort. So as we do that, these things will automatically come in. So curriculum writing isn't just curriculum writing, it's also embedded professional learning in it. So that's what's so great about us learning side by side with each other, is after I've gone through the progression learning, let's say, ad nauseum now, I will be able to take that and I will be able to turnkey that as I'm planning with the ninth grade social studies, as an example, right?
I do believe one of the bits of feedback you talked about was that the teachers recognize that there are changes that are necessary in that grade level in that particular discipline, that they're excited to go try. And I think it's a natural integration for the idea of progression, particularly when you talk about like either essay writing around an essential, what am I trying to say? Enduring issue, thank you. A lot of social studies on this part panel.
Yeah.
An enduring issue kind of a question. So there are the opportunities that are there for us, not only through, you know, the idea of a progression is not just ELA, it's really
Right.
good writing.
Yes.
Group writing. And tomorrow at our large ELA curriculum committee meeting, everybody's going to share out. So everybody who's there, K-12, is going to have an opportunity to hear from the different grade levels with visuals and pictures and audio, video, about what is happening, so then they can see it, right? And then they're going to be able to see visually the alignment K through 12. And in those small moments, people become inspired and really excited, and they want to then take it to the next level, and they want to learn more on their own. When it happens organically, it's really fantastic.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for the update. I really appreciate hearing about the alignment that's going on across the district, specifically at the elementary level with regards to instruction and assessment. It seems like we're doing a really great job getting K through 2 students on board with all of the skills that they're going to need to really help them be successful. I still would like to know a bit more about, you know, what's going on at the secondary level. I feel like a lot of our focus has been K through 5, which is fine. We have to start at the beginning and build up. But we do have students who unfortunately didn't get that instruction because they were older when we started that. And I am concerned about how we're helping those students to develop their skills, specifically to Mrs. Gruner's point and Dr. Downing's point about writing. You know, writing is, as has been said, is really a foundation as to what our students need to be able to do at the secondary level, and then, you know, when they go to college, that's what all of our assessments are. And I do wonder about how we are looking at, by the end of high school, this is what we need students to be able to do in each of our content areas, not just English, but also science and also social studies, how we're backwards planning that and then scaffolding that up. What does writing instruction look like in sixth grade, in our English class, in our social studies class, in our science class? Are we speaking the same language? Are we assessing in the same way? Do the students know what's expected of them? As a middle school parent, I would like to see more writing. I've seen nothing thus far, and it's concerning to me as a parent, and I've heard the same from many other middle school parents as well. Being a middle school teacher, this is where we have the time to do that work, because the high school is so much more content heavy. Not that there isn't going to be that kind of instruction at the high school, but it needs to be embedded there. So I'd really like to hear as we move forward how we're addressing that, and then what those progressions look like, and then what that transfer across the content areas are going to look like.
We can do a follow-up at the end of the year if we want, just another piece where we can say specifically on writing, what are the work that we've done and the work that we need to do, if that was what the board would like, because it seems to be a consistent theme.
Yeah, and it's really near and dear to my heart too, writing, so to all of ours.
It would be something like this, but yeah.
I think
Okay.
that would,
I was going to.
yeah, and just to see that what the writing that they're doing is
Yeah.
truly aligned to the
Yep.
type of writing they need to be doing, and not writing that perhaps we used to do 10 years ago, but we no longer are
Right.
expecting students to be
So
able
like
to
one
do.
of the pieces of writing that we found that are probably overused are narratives, particularly at the younger levels. So that's something you have to do a little bit more different types of writing, not just narratives all the time. So that's one of the things that as we go through the development of the integrated units, we're finding different opportunities for writing. That's also one of the things that came back as feedback from people saying, we need to do more of this. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to do that, but we know that writing on the secondary level is something that we have to focus on.
Great, thank you.
So your spring update will have specific examples of writing instruction specifically on the secondary level?
Secondary, writing progression, like the idea of writing progressions and where we are in terms of ELA social studies or across the content area, we'll call it across the content area.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Turning to items for discussion, we have policies up next. At stage 1, we have 3416, Workplace Violence Prevention Statement. This has been reworked since our last meeting. Ms. Harvey, you want to speak to this?
Yep, since the last meeting, Erie One BOCES, who is the agency that we use for policy review and updates, had issued a sample policy. I do recommend we do adopt this policy. This will be similar, if not identical, to many other districts on Long Island as well.
And the reason we have to adopt it, or you're recommending that we adopt it tonight, can you just explain it again?
Yep, I'm recommending that we adopt it tonight and not move it through the first 4 stages, is that the law provided that we should have it adopted by today. So therefore, in order to make sure we do comply with the law, we should adopt it today. That does not mean that even, in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we could always look at it and make revisions. But I think that it would be in the best interest of the district to approve today, and then we could always look further for revisions if needed.
So following the advice of counsel, it is currently listed on our agenda tonight for approval, item for action letter E. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, thank you. At stage 2, we have 1251, student voter registration and pre-registration. Any comments or questions? Okay to move this?
Yes.
7514, health records. Okay to move
Good.
this?
Yes.
7520, accidents and medical emergencies. Okay to move this as well?
I just had a question, because I wasn't
Sure.
at the last meeting.
Yeah.
The part about how we encourage the staff members to become qualified with CPR and the automated defibrillators, does the district offer training throughout the year that teachers have access to within the district, or do we have to send them, is it something that we recommend they send out? I'm just wondering if we provide any aid in them taking those courses or resources on how to take those courses?
Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Murphy?
There's different levels of CPR and AED training. The goal in the district that gained a lot of traction this year is to have every single teacher trained for emergency CPR, meaning can you issue CPR for the 4 minutes before EMTs get here? So that's, with Mr. Minton and I, we teamed up with Northwell and the Red Cross Society, and that started in the superintendent's conference today. Teacher aides, TAs, and teachers. The goal of which is to have everyone in the district trained at that level, at least by June. The AEDs are part of usually the more intensive 5-hour training that every teacher aide in the district received on the same day. The logic being that they tend to be more associated with students of high risk, and they are pervasive in every building. So they've been given the entire 5-hour official CPR training. We will continue to increase that throughout time. Suffice it to say, for instance, coaches are already CPR trained. There are staff who are already receiving it, but it's an elaboration upon that.
Thank you.
Can I just follow up
Yeah.
on that question? Do we bring in training for coaches, or our coaches have to go out to an alternate site to get certified every, was it 2
There are
years?
certified trainers in district who do the coaches usually. What we did, we brought in outside trainers. It was just sheer volume, so they had 5 trainers doing the work concurrently.
Yeah, no, I was just even curious if we had teachers who were interested, if they're aware of when the coaches have that training available so they could hop in if they wanted to.
I also had a follow-up, Mr. Murphy. So you said by June, right? So are they already scheduled, the follow-up sessions, or are we on track for that
We're on
plan
track
to
for
come
it.
to
We're based on
fruition?
the availability of the trainers, so we're a little bit at their whims sometimes.
Okay, so maybe we can also have a follow-up item on that in a future superintendent's report? Okay,
Sure.
thank you. Anything else on that policy?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Currently at stage 3, we have 6550, leaves of absence. Any comments or questions? Okay to move this to approval
Yes.
the next meeting? 7230, dual credit for college courses. Okay to move this?
Yes.
7241, release of information to the non-custodial parent. Okay to move this? Go ahead.
Yes.
7311, loss or destruction of district property. Okay. 7314, teacher removal of disruptive students from the classroom. Okay, thank you very much.
Can I just
Yep.
really quickly,
Of
to go
course.
back to the first, the workplace
Yeah.
violence prevention? In the policy, there's some steps that are going to be
Oh, yeah.
taken along the way. Can we also just get
Sure.
update on that in
Absolutely.
a future report?
I think
The first step
you-
actually happened, I will put it in correspondence, but I'll also, we took the first step of the policy by meeting with, we named our directors, our coordinators, which will be Mr. Murphy and Mr. Mitten. I will be the chief emergency operator. We met today to start to outline and pick dates for coming together as the committee. You need to have a committee now to review the plan. We also are in contact with council to provide us with what a template of a plan may look like, one of the things that we need to look like. Council has already provided us with a draft of what a form could look like. The reporting form is one of the pieces there as well. So we are in motion for all of the different steps that we need to take.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Gavin, superintendent's report.
Yes, ma'am. We are excited that our drama students are proud to offer our parents and residents a series of student-directed plays this weekend at Southside High School. The plays are all centered on the theme of the 80s. So for parents that want to be impressed by acting, choreographing, and directing skills of our students and get a walk down memory lane at the same time, please see the high school website for tickets. We are also super excited that at the end of January, we will be hosting our first intra-district hackathon event at Wilson Elementary School. Our elementary hackathon teams will compete in our first ever hackathon on January 26th. Each team will be tasked with a series of coding challenges. The students that complete these challenges in innovative ways will earn territories a la like the old board game Risk. So you get this big map. As you successfully earn a challenge, the territory turns, say, color red if that's Wilson's color, for example. And you see, as they're battling on the different coding challenges, for example, Wilson may earn a coding challenge and take a territory. Hewitt may wait to the last minute and put in what they think is a better challenge and take that territory at the last minute. So there's a lot of strategy out there. It's really fun. We even talked about having like the band there, the pep band. So it's going to be an extravaganza on January 26th. It's going to be a lot of fun. On a more serious note, kindergarten registration for all of our residents is open. Please look on the website to find all the information. And for our parents that have students that will be interested in the pre-K or UPK programs here next year, the flyer went to the mail today, so please look for the flyer in your mailboxes coming soon if you are interested in registering for the UPK program that the district provides. We're excited for this program. The program is for 4-year-olds and it will be hosted at the Oceanside JCC next year. That is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gavin. Pep band is pretty busy.
I gotta tell you, I think I'm gonna make them go. If we
Now
can
you
work
said it in
out.
public.
Yeah, well, we talked about it, and the high school went like this, and the elementaries were like, yeah, so we have to see if we could free them up. It is during the school day.
Yeah, pep band has to be in class. Okay. Agreed. Opportunity for board members. Happy birthday, Trustee Messier.
Happiest one I've had. With all of you. No, I'm happy to be here tonight. I hope that everyone had an enjoyable and restful break, and I trust the time away has provided each of us with an opportunity to recharge, reflect, and return with renewed energy and enthusiasm for the work that we'll collectively undertake. I'd like to wish all of our students who are involved in the student-directed plays this weekend good luck. I'm also looking very forward to attending the 6th grade concert next week. I'm also looking very forward to our next board meeting to talk about our new course offerings, and as well as engaging in conversation about our course catalogs in general. I'd like to thank Dr. Moriarty for the update tonight. I'm happy to hear about the continued progress that we're making in both ELA, English, and math. I'm taking some classes right now, and one of the classes we had in the fall, we were talking about review. It was really a class on reflection. And my professor made a statement that really resonated with me, where he was talking about the phrase, "This is what we've always done," and it being the most dangerous phrase in education. And I felt that, and I think, you know, in thinking about that and thinking about the statement and thinking about what we do as a school, I sincerely believe that reflection and revision for continuous progress has to be at the core of what we do. And I appreciate the fact that our administration has taken on curriculum review as a centerpiece of what we are doing, not just this year, but every year, and that there is a commitment to continually reviewing that process. You know, every year we have different students who have different needs, and if we're not really thinking about what we're doing and how what we're doing meets those needs, then we're not providing the best education we have. So I sincerely appreciate the work that you have done and that we will do to really meet the needs of our students moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Hackett?
Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a nice holiday season. Hope everyone stayed healthy. Wanted to send my apologies for missing the last meeting. Mrs. Barry explained I had a work conflict. It was very hard for me to miss a meeting, my first one in 7 years. So I just wanted to send my congratulations to all the students that attended and their families, and also to thank Sheila McGinn and her team for their middle school presentation, which I was able to watch. Thankfully, luckily, that we have great streaming services here and that we record meetings. It really was helpful for me to be able to catch up. And I was just happy to be able to hear all the great things that are happening at the middle school and the opportunities that we're affording them there. So thank you to Mrs. McGinn and her team. Thank you to Dr. Moriarty and Dr. Diaz for all the work and their committee on ELA and looking at the cycle. Just a reminder for the Rockville Center Ed Foundation event, I'm sure that they'll have an invitation coming up. On April 6th, they will be honoring our own Dr. Zuar and Darren Raymar. So hopefully you will help support those events that they have coming up, because they do benefit all of the children of Rockville Center. And while I'm talking about him, I want to congratulate Dr. Zuar on his concert season, which I hear is wrapping next week with 6th grade. So congratulations to all of our musicians and music teachers and Dr. Zuar and team. I wanted to thank Mr. Gavin for staying on with us for an extra 3 years. We're very excited. It's been a great experience working with you so far, and we're looking forward to the future. Also wanted to congratulate our very own Vinny on his retirement. If you drive on down Shepherd Street, normally you would be greeted by his very sweet face. And I just want to say, every time I would come through, he would say, "I watched the board meeting the other night." So hopefully he's watching, actually told me he's going to continue to watch. I wanted to just congratulate him on his retirement and wish him well. We all love him so much. And I wanted to wish Erica a very happy birthday. It's not the first time a board member has spent their birthday with us, but it still matters that you did that and never even complained or even wanted us to know it was your birthday. So we're going to tell everybody,
Sorry about
happy
that.
birthday.
Thank you. Mrs. Gruner?
I'm just going to echo everybody's sentiment so far. I'm excited to be back, and I do take Erica's point well, that reflection, I think this is a natural time of year for reflection, but I think ongoing reflection is really important. So I'm excited to be part of that, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. Dr. Downing?
Agreed. Happy New Year, and in that spirit of reflection and thinking about going forward, I was looking at the calendar, noticing lots of PTA meetings happening this week and next week, and even though in the dark nights of January it can be difficult, I really do think that getting involved as much as you can in your student's school, in your child's school, really makes a difference, and we're all working on building and strengthening the homeschool connection, because I do think it's one of the most important factors in student success across the board. So on that note, thanks again for the ELA presentation and thinking about building this foundation. We just can't think about it enough, right? To have these foundational skills in reading and writing sets so much up for later on, and we need to get it right. Thank you also for the update on communications and for meeting with students at various grade levels. I think that is one of the, again, most important things we can do is listen to our students. They are in our buildings every day. They know a lot. They have strong opinions, and I appreciate the time that you've spent in meeting with them and listening to them and using their feedback productively. Good luck to everyone involved in student-directed plays. That's always a highlight at the high school, a lifelong memory for so many. And thanks also to our student musicians. They really had a wonderful concert season, and best of luck to the sixth graders, too.
Thank you. I would like to echo luck and break a leg to the students involved in the student-directed plays. I will be attending Saturday night. I also attended many concerts. It was a wonderful concert season as always. The students were phenomenal. Always a pleasure to attend those. I look forward to the second half of the year. The second half of the year primarily means Mr. Bartels becomes super busy, busier than usual, as budget season is upon us. And on that note, the Board of Ed, as we have done in past years, will be doing our mid-year walkthroughs coming up. So each board member will be tasked with touring the building with Mr. Gavin and the custodial staff and looking at some capital needs that each building principal will bring to our attention as we begin to look at the budget. And to that end, we will also be visiting the board member that toured that building will be visiting that unit's PTA meeting as well, either in January, February, or even possibly March for one or two of our buildings, depending on availability of the board member and the PTA. So thank you in advance to the PTA for hosting us. Thank you in advance to the building principals for hosting us as well and showing us around your buildings as we prepare for our budget. Okay, opportunity for visitors. The public is reminded to address questions or remarks to the board through its president. It's requested to refrain from making any direct references to students or staff members that could be considered critical of their performance or their character. Such references to individual students or staff members are inappropriate in a public forum and should instead be conducted in private conversation with appropriate members of the staff. The public is asked to state their name and address and to please limit their comments to 3 minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve financial reports as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the receipt of financial reports as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? I would just like to note, before we already approved item for action, letter A, we also had to add more recently an item for action, letter I, for an individual student appeal that we heard in exec prior to the meeting. So that will be reflected, it is already reflected on an amended agenda that was updated more recently. So can I please have a motion to approve items for action B through I?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to return to executive session to discuss an individual student matter?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is January 18th, and that will be a public work session, and we will begin at 7 o'clock. Have a great evening.